I'd almost forgotten what Chef can do with a steak.
Hello everyone, this is Steak. Oof, this episode has time travel, and therefore I'm having by default a problem with it. In my opinion, time travel is morally wrong, and anyone who goes back in time on purpose should be considered a criminal. A while ago, I have written a short little piece on my homepage called Time Travel, aka Casual Homicide, because that's what you do when you travel back in time. You casually erase people from history. As an example, there is a man walking down a corridor, and at the end of the corridor, he runs into someone. At first, he's annoyed, but then he looks closer and sees a beautiful woman. He falls in love, gets married, and has 3 kids with her. Now imagine another version of this, where the guy walks down that corridor, but this time he hears a noise coming from a locked room. He is curious, he stops and listens, and while he does that, the love of his life walks by. He never meets her. His 3 children will never exist. Captain Kirk erased 3 people from history just by making a noise in a locked room. Sure, he can enter into his log that no one saw him. He didn't interact with anyone, and still he is guilty of casual homicide. Or the Voyager crew walking around in the episode Future's End. Imagine how many lives that cost. Simply occupying space could be enough to change the course of history. There is that guy you run into. Because of that, he misses a bus. Because of that, he is late to work. Because of that, he loses his job. Because of that, he will not get promoted 10 years from now. Because of that, he will not make important changes to the company. Because of that, an employee commits suicide due to the bad working conditions. Because of that, his children will never be born. Just because a member of the Voyager crew stood in the wrong place at the wrong time. I can forgive that kind of thing when our heroes were thrown back in time by accident and now need to make the best of the situation. And I can also forgive this when it is about saving the entire planet. But traveling back in time because you have an issue with your mother? No. Okay, enough of my hatred for time travel. Let's start with the episode. Dax wants to throw a party, and Worf is not a fan of this idea. She promises him it will be a strict no-smile party, and he almost gives in, but then she ruins it when she wants to make it a theme party. I'm with Worf. Parties can go to hell. Theme parties can absolutely go to hell. Kira gets some flowers from Quark, and Dax wants to know why. So she's pestering Kira until she tells her that it's for her mother's birthday. I really hate when Kira says to Dax that there is such a thing called privacy, and Dax says, not between friends. I really hope she meant that as a joke. So Kira tells Dax about her mother, how she's totally awesome. But she's in for a rude awakening, literally. Dukat calls to tell her that Kira's mother was his girlfriend back in the day. Kira, of course, doesn't believe it, but Dukat knows a few things about her. Kira has doubts and wants to find out the truth. O'Brien tries to convince Bashir that having a holosuite program about the Battle of the Alamo would be a great idea. Bashir is not convinced that losing is the best leisure activity. Kira then throws him out. She's really having a bad day. She's grumbling that they're not here to drink Raktaginos while holding her cup. And she's not done bitching yet. Next stop is Odo. There's a crime wave on the promenade, and she wants him to sort that out. Odo then wants to know what's going on, and she says talking about it won't help. And Odo says, well, then do something about it. Turns out Kira didn't report Dukat's call because it was personal. Awesome. An escaped prisoner calls and you don't report it because it was personal. What's wrong with Kira in this episode? Kira wants the Orb of Time to let her go back and see what happened. And Sisko reacts exactly the way you should react to a stupid idea like this. Can't help but grin when he says how the Federation has strict regulations concerning time travel. Yeah, maybe enforcing them once in a while might help. Kira wants his help as the emissary, not as a Starfleet captain. He can grant her access to the orb, and it's up to the prophets to decide if her request is worthy. Turns out the prophets have very low standards. Sisko is worried she might interfere with the timeline, as he should. And she just says the prophets will guide her. Sure, creatures that don't understand what linear time is will make sure you don't mess with the timeline. Of course! And I can't believe Sisko allows this. So, into the past she goes, ready to casually erase people from history with the blessing of the prophets. She finds her family. When a few guys try to steal their food, she intervenes. She knocks their sorry asses into the dirt, and her family is very grateful. Little Nerys wants to know her name, and I am absolutely sure she checked the name she's going to use before she went on this mission to make sure there is no one else here with that name who could now be mistaken for her. I am absolutely positive she did that. These gentlemen are here to collect comfort women, and Kira and her mother are selected. They get quarters together, and Kira wants to make plans to escape, but her mother only has eyes for the food, which for once I can understand. She's starving after all. Kira plans for them to escape, hide in the hills, and join the resistance. And all that without altering the timeline. You do remember you came here just to find out the truth about what happened, right? Not to change it? She uncovers the scar that was hidden under the hair. Turns out it's a souvenir from an insulted Cardassian. Maru wants to know why Kira keeps helping her, and she says it's because she doesn't have many friends. Sure, why would she when that means no privacy? The next day, the douchebag is impressed with how the women have changed. He explains their future job to them, providing comfort and care to the Cardassians. He starts threatening them with what's gonna happen if they fail. That moment, Dukat comes in and stops him. Dukat gives a speech that is supposed to make him look like a nice guy. Maybe he forgot that the women he's speaking to just got forcefully removed from their families and are now doomed to a life of forced prostitution. Maru has the audacity to actually remember that and asks about her family. Dukat starts charming her. When he sees the scar, he removes it, and I'm sure just because it's no longer visible, the wound is healed. That's how it works with trauma, you know. Kira is disgusted and irritated that her mother seems to fall for this. At a party, one Cardassian grabs her mother and another one is interested in Kira. She is sassy to him, but he seems to like that. Dukat joins the party and rescues Maru from the other scumbag. The guy Kira is sitting with predicts what Dukat is going to say, and he's right. He also says he's seen that performance before. This means Dukat has chosen Kira's mother for himself. Later, Kira manages to get rid of the drunk guy when he invites himself into her quarters. Maru is already moving in with Dukat. Kira attacks the guards when she hears that and gets her ass kicked. Oh, and also, she's fired. This guy tells her that her mother was on a trip with Dukat, and he calls Maru a collaborator. Kira objects, but, well, yeah, she kinda is. The guy wants infos from Kira. He wants her to draw a map. Kira is taken away. Maru wanted to see her. And she kinda fell in love with Dukat, and she has chosen Kira as her companion. Maru completely fell for Dukat's show. Kira reminds her that the Cardassians are killing Bajorans, and Maru actually believes that Dukat tries to change that. Then Kira reminds her that she has a husband and children, and Maru says Dukat promised to help them. It is easy for us viewers to say, how could she fall for this? Because we know Dukat, know what he really is. I guess it is not entirely fair to call her naive for not realizing that it is all just an act. But I still call her naive. She and her family were starving because the Cardassians didn't give them enough food. Then she was taken away from them against her will, and now after a few weeks of Dukat charming her, she is ready to believe that was all a misunderstanding. Because her children have now enough to eat, thanks to her being here, she forgets about the other children still starving in that cave. Kira accuses Maru of actually enjoying this, that she really likes being here with Dukat. Maybe, or she knows that she has to do this to make sure her family gets enough food. And to make it tolerable, she is trying to make herself believe that Dukat is a good man. It is easy to say, if I was in that position, I would fight, while lying on the sofa eating potato chips. But the soup guy is still right. She is a collaborator. But the lives of her children depend on her doing this. It's a shitty position to be in, to put it politely. Kira storms off and is now ready to help the soup guy. She will smuggle a bomb into Dukat's quarters. Kira apologizes to Maru, and when she gets a chance, she hides the bomb in a plant. When Kira sees her mother react to a message from her husband, she changes her mind and tells her and Dukat to get out. Why Dukat? I thought you didn't care about changing the timeline. The bomb goes off and Kira returns to the present, totally shocked by what she has seen. And definitely not changed. She tells Sisko what happened. Sisko asks why she saved her mother's life if she so strongly believed that what she did was wrong, and Kira answers that a part of her wished she hadn't. It's not that I don't appreciate the moral dilemma here, I do, but the whole time travel thing just kinda ruins it for me. I like Kira, I really do, and that's why it bothers me how irresponsibly and selfish she acts in this episode. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye.
Goodbye, Harry.